how we doing? I'm Andy, this is Spiders. Thanks for coming along and watching. Today we're going to have a look at a pairing attempt I did for the Tapinauchenius polybotes or polybotes. It's the big Tapinauchenius, this one. You see, you don't see very many of them about really, but I've been trying, well, a bit of a shit part to the story is that I've been trying to get these breeding project together for a few years, and I had a bigger female. But unfortunately, when I had me boiler issues in November and I lost a lot of my collection, my biggest female was one of those that perished, unfortunately. So I've got this other female who's probably a molt behind that one. The male is a bit bigger than her, but as you'll see in the video, she must be putting down some sort of pheromones or something, because as soon as he gets in there, he's doing his bit, like he's doing that communicating, he's tapping, he's vibrating. But yeah, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just move on and we'll watch the pairing, and then I'll catch up with you at the end. Cheers.
So the first thing I got to mention is I didn't realise when I did that intro, I forgot that I'd actually spliced two separate pairings together. So there's going to be two different pairings or pairing attempts that I'm going to show you here. So this was the first one I'm going to show you, but it's actually the third time I tried pairing these two. So we got the male in. As I say, by now he was pretty familiar with the setup. He had been in there a couple of times beforehand, so he tucked himself away just down in this bottom corner. So at this point he'd actually picked up the female was, obviously you can see this silk tube here behind her cork back, and that's where she was in there. So he picked up on this and he'd started doing his bit, and then it was just a waiting game waiting for her really. And that waiting game went on a while, so this is about 15 minutes later, and you'll see he just jumps back there because she'd actually moved around. And these two corkbacks, she's got like basically she's got a tube that connects through the bottom of the two of them, but there's also a second exit on one of them. So basically she's got three entrances and exits to her burrow. So this dude was doing his best just to, you know, find out where she was, and you'll see just make out her leg just poking out from behind that corkback there. At this point I thought it might be promising because she hadn't run out and eaten him. He was being quite patient, you see, doing his little bit, and she was just sort of sitting there waiting. You see, she's just tapping almost like a threat pose. And if I'm honest, this is how this pairing sort of tended to play out. So I left it for, I think he was probably in there a good hour, maybe longer than that. And as you can see, or as you will see, he was doing his bit, but just as is happening here, she just didn't seem too interested. Although I'm saying that, I did wonder at this point whether or not she was just making herself, you know, bringing herself out that cork back so that she'd be better positioned for a pairing. She just basically went back down to where she'd come from. You see, she is an absolutely stunning tarantula. Definitely not enough of these in the hobby. Yeah, you see she was slowly making her way up. I do apologise for the shoddy camera work here. But again, this did make me wonder whether she was just getting better positioned, you know, to make the pairing more successful. And yet, as you'll see, she just basically disappeared. Now this is sort of the third entrance or exit to her burrow. So she took herself back in there, and little dude was left to start working right from scratch again, basically. This was about 10 minutes later. She'd gone back down the back and he'd basically come over the top. You'll see here, this point, I really thought that something was going to happen. You can see there's quite a bit of contact going on between them both. She's tapping away, or he's tapping away, sorry. She looked as though she was sort of offering herself to him, but it turned out that wasn't quite the case. So yeah, she played that game with him for a little bit, and then as you can see, she just turned round and sauntered off. So as it was, I think this had probably been about an hour and a half that he'd been in there, and I thought, you know, if nothing's happened by now, maybe it's time to take him out and try again. You can see he's still desperate, but yeah, it's time to take him out. So now we're going to move. This is a second pairing, or as it was, the fourth pairing that I actually tried. This time I did it in the living room. I think again the house was quiet, there was no one about, so it gave me the opportunity to do things in the living room, which meant disturbing them less because I had less, you know, distance to move them and things. So I hoped that this one might work out, and as you can see, he's doing his bit, and you may have just clocked that bit of moss moving there. You can see she's just emerging from her burrow. So, as you see, she actually went round the bottom and come through the bottom of this cork back to meet him. Again, I was hoping that this might be something, lead to something promising, and then this happened. So for a split second I was worried, but as you can see, she didn't eat him. She sort of, whether it was just a little bit of a scare off to tell him to leave her alone, I'm not sure, but you can see he's still as keen as ever. Yeah, so I let things play out for another sort of 15 or 20 minutes, I think it was, and you can see she sort of come up again, and to me she was giving him all the signals that she was up for pairing, but for whatever reason she just wasn't playing ball. See, there she goes with that tapping again. And this was probably about 20 minutes after the last shot. This is towards the end when I was making the decision that I was going to bring him out, because she was basically warning him off, and I was really concerned that she might have just nailed him and ate him, and that was something that I really didn't want to happen. So there's not, by my knowledge, there's not too many of these males about, so you know, it was in my best interest to keep him alive for as long as possible. So yeah, that was the pairing attempt of the Tapinauchenius polybotes, and hopefully we might get some better joy further down the line.
So yeah, unfortunately, that one didn't work out. Now, as it is, that pairing that I've just shown you there was probably, I think that was my third attempt at pairing them. I've since tried again, and the female's just not having any of it. She just keeps giving him that sort of thing, you know. Best way to describe it is when your tea is going into pre-molt and you try and feed it and it starts tapping at the food. Basically, that's what she's doing in the burrow. Every time he gets close enough and gets a little bit too much contact with her, she's tapping him to warn him. And I mean, I've had 4 pairing attempts, probably 3/4 of an hour each time, and I just don't want to risk him getting eaten. So I have let it be known that he was available, and there's a few people interested, so it seems that this one's going to go on a little bit of a tour of Britain. We're going to get him passed around, see if any other people can have any joy with him. Hopefully by the time they're done, I might be able to get him back, and maybe that female, I might be able to fatten her up a bit and hopefully get her to molt out in that time, and then maybe, you know, we'll be ready to try again. If not, we've got the female, and we'll just look and see what happens in regards to getting another male in the future. But yeah, that was the Tapinauchenius polybotes. Like I say, it wasn't the most successful of pairings, as you've seen, but it was 2 awesome looking spiders. They are very underrated. If I'm honest, a lot of people have the violaceous and the rusty and the Tapinauchenius genus, but genus. But yeah, I've got to say these are probably my favourite. They're just like a mix of a few different spiders to me. They're a bit like a mix of the P. victori and the versicolor and the likes of the rusty or the violaceous. They just got some stunning colours. But anyway, that's me done. I'll hope you enjoyed what you've seen, and I'll catch up with you all next time. Cheers. Ta-da.